He made everybody raise their game, and I think that's what Fernandes has done. I think he's come in and made everybody raise their game.
When you talk about Bruno Fernandes, the first thing that comes to mind is the Manchester United captain who argues with referees, the player who complains about every decision, the man who ballooned a penalty against Fulham because the referee accidentally brushed past him while he was preparing to take it, one of the most criticized players in the Premier League, maybe in world football. But if you strip away the criticism, the attitude, the theatrics, and just look at what he's been doing since joining Manchester United, you'll realize something terrifying. He's been a bright spark in the United T. November 30th, 2025. Selhurst Park. Manchester United are losing away to Crystal Palace. A match turning into another disappointing afternoon. Another collapse threatening to unravel. Then in the 54th minute, Bruno Fernandes steps over a free kick. The delivery is perfect. Joshua Zirkzee attacks it and smashes it into the net. 1-1. 9 minutes later, Bruno sets up another free kick, this time for Mason Mount. Quick, intelligent, he catches Palace sleeping. Mount sweeps it into the net. 2-1, game over. 2 assists, 2 set pieces, 2 moments of brilliance that rescued 3 points when everything else had failed. It's what he does. Week after week, season after season, he is among the players who always turn up and contribute to the team, even when everything is falling apart. But here's what nobody's talking about. Bruno just surpassed Paul Scholes, a Manchester United legend with 56 Premier League assists. He leads the entire league in assists this season. 5 already, more than Foden, more than Enzo Fernandez, more than anyone. And he's doing it from a position that doesn't even bring out his best qualities on the pitch. Deeper, further from goal, further from where the world knows he's most dangerous. Rúben Amorim has pushed him back into midfield. Some say it's limiting him, others say he's unhappy, yet the numbers don't lie. Bruno Fernandes led the Premier League in chances created in 2022-23, 119, 2023-24, 114, and 2024-25, 91. And he already has 19 this season, a level of consistency that even invites comparisons to the Premier League's greatest creators. So why does it feel like nobody notices? Why does Bruno Fernandes, captain, creator, leader, still have to prove himself every single week? This is the truth about Bruno Fernandes in 2025. The 2025-26 season did not begin with promises. It began with uncertainty. Manchester United had finished the previous campaign bruised, directionless, and desperate for identity. Rúben Amorim arrived with a system the squad had never played, a structure that demanded intelligence, discipline, and patience, a 3-4, a 2-1 that stretched defenders, pinned wingbacks high, and placed unusual responsibility on the 2 central midfielders. One of those midfielders was the captain. Bruno Fernandes had spent 5 years living in the spaces where games are won, the pockets behind the striker, the edge of the box, the half channels where his passes tear open defenses. But Amorim wanted something different. He wanted Bruno deeper, not as a number 10, not as a free creator, but as the playmaker behind the playmakers. In August, many thought it was temporary. By September, it had become the norm. And then came November, a stretch of consecutive Premier League games where Bruno and Casemiro were deployed as a midfield pivot, tasked with controlling the rhythm, progressing the ball, shutting down passing lanes, and still delivering end product higher up the pitch. It was a difficult balance. The numbers reflected that tension. Fewer shots, fewer touches in the box, yet somehow still the most chances created in the league, even from deeper zones. And while United's results fluctuated, late wins, painful losses, narrow escapes, the one constant was the captain's availability. 13 Premier League appearances, 12 starts, and about 1,162 minutes so far this season. One of United's most used outfield players, though not quite the one with the most minutes. But beneath the surface, pressure built. Bruno was still carrying the responsibilities of a number 10 while operating as a number 8. He was expected to defend like a midfielder, progress like a deep-lying playmaker, and create like an attacking engine, all inside a system that was evolving week by week. Analysts debated the fit, fans argued over his role, former players questioned whether the partnership with Casemiro could truly challenge the top sides. And yet, the numbers remained undeniable, because if Manchester United are to rise again, it will not come from comfort. It will come from this period right here, a season where Bruno Fernandes is trying to do 3 jobs at once, simply because someone has to. This season has challenged the old narrative about Bruno Fernandes. For years, he was the emergency solution, the player who had to cover every weakness, spark every attack, and drag Manchester United through games they had no right to win. But the 2025-26 campaign feels different, and not because Bruno has stepped back, but because he is not the only one shouldering the responsibility in the team again. The changes around him are visible across the pitch. Luke Shaw, back fully fit, has been one of the most consistent performers in the squad. His timing, intensity, and overlapping runs have brought balance to the left side of the defense, giving United a structure they missed last season. Matthijs de Ligt has quietly become the defensive anchor, reading danger early, organizing the back line, and giving United the calm they've lacked since the days of Rio and Vidic. Bryan Mbeumo, one of Amorim's clearest successes, has injected a new level of intelligence into the final third. His movement between the lines and his discipline inside the system have made United less predictable and less dependent on a single source of goal scoring. Amad Diallo has provided spark and unpredictability when United needed it. Casemiro, even in a deeper stage of his career, has had games where his experience changed the rhythm entirely, and Mason Mount, after months of injuries and uncertainty, has delivered important contributions, especially when he plays alongside Bruno instead of in competition with him. This version of Manchester United still has flaws, still has gaps, still has moments where the structure wobbles, but for the first time in a long time, Bruno is not carrying the burden alone. Instead, he is part of a collective trying to climb upward together. But this shift brings a new type of pressure for the captain. When you're the only source of inspiration, responsibility is heavy but simple. Everything falls on you. When the team finally has moving parts, new signings, new roles, new combinations, the responsibility becomes more complicated. Bruno must now balance leadership with cooperation. He has to decide when to take control and when to step back, when to demand more from others and when to trust the system, when to push forward and when to allow others, like Mbeumo or Mount, to take the lead creatively. And that dynamic has created a quieter tension around him, not the dramatic carry the team pressure of past seasons. A squad where he's no longer the only bright spark, but still the reference point everyone looks at when intensity drops or decisions must be made. This is what defines Bruno's new responsibility. He is no longer the sole savior. He is the standard setter inside a team that is finally learning to share the weight. Selhurst Park has never been a kind place for teams under pressure. Crystal Palace don't need much of the ball to make life uncomfortable, and for 45 minutes, they made Manchester United feel every mistake. United had more possession, more passes, more territory, but none of that mattered when Lenny Yoro clipped Jean-Philippe Mateta in the box and the referee pointed to the spot. Mateta buried the penalty after his first attempt was disallowed for both feet touching the ball before he scored. 1-0 Palace. Another away game where United were chasing instead of controlling. Bruno Fernandes had already been busy long before the goal. Deep in midfield, he was the one connecting defense to attack, dropping beside Casemiro to receive under pressure, then stepping forward to deliver corners and free kicks. In the first half alone, he had swung in dangerous deliveries from the left, picked out Casemiro and de Ligt with crosses, and tried his luck from range. But as halftime arrived, the only statistic that mattered was on the scoreboard. Palace ahead, United behind. The situation was familiar. United trailing, the away crowd growing louder, the home side sensing weakness. What was different this time was the structure around him. Shaw was solid down the left, de Ligt clearing almost everything in the air, Mbeumo constantly offering himself out wide, Amad and Mount both driving at defenders. United were not collapsing, but they were blunt. They needed someone to change the direction of the game, not with emotion, but with decisions. The turning point came just after the break. United started the second half with more control, pushing Palace deeper, forcing throw-ins and free kicks higher up the pitch. The pattern was clear. Whenever they won a set piece in the attacking third, there was only one man walking over the ball. Minute 54. Free kick on the left. Bruno places the ball, takes a step back, scans the box. He doesn't whip it blindly into a crowd. He looks for the angle, the movement, the mismatch. Joshua Zirkzee pulls away from his marker, drifting into a pocket just inside the area. Bruno spots it and shapes the cross not to the penalty spot but slightly behind it, where a forward can attack the ball on the run. The delivery's perfect, flat enough to avoid the goalkeeper, high enough to beat the first defender. Zirkzee chests it down and meets it with his left foot. 1-1, it's not just an assist, it's a reminder of what set pieces become when Fernandes is at the ball. A technical problem for the defense, not a hopeful swing. Palace feel the momentum shift. United start to settle, passes become cleaner, territory becomes permanent, the game finally looks like it belongs to the away side. 9 minutes later, it happens again. Minute 63. Quick free kick routine. Mount doesn't hesitate. One touch, right foot through the ball, 2-1. 2 different assists, 1 classic cross, 1 fast, intelligent setup. The same conclusion. Bruno reading the game a step ahead of everyone else. From that moment, the match stops being about survival and becomes about control. United managed the final 30 minutes with the composure they lacked in earlier away games. De Ligt wins his aerial duels. Casemiro breaks up counters. Dalot and Mazraoui handle their flanks. Mainu comes on to add fresh legs. And Bruno's role shifts again, less about carving chances, more about helping the team cross the line. He tracks back to block shots on the edge of the box. He clears crosses. He drops into the defensive line when Palace throw bodies forward. When the whistle goes at 90+6, United walk off with a 2-1 win that feels bigger than 3 points. For the statistics, it is simple. 2 assists on the night, a dominant creative display. And with those 2 passes, Bruno Fernandes reaches 56 Premier League assists for Manchester United, overtaking Paul Scholes and stepping into a bracket where only Giggs, Rooney, and Beckham sit above him. But beyond the numbers, the game does something else. It resets the conversation. In a season of shared responsibility and tactical demands, he remains the player who, in the key moments, knows how to tilt a game back in Manchester United's favor. And on a cold night in South London, with United trailing again and questions circling his role, Bruno answered the only way that really matters for a footballer, with the ball at his feet and the game under his control. So here's the truth about Bruno Fernandes, the truth that gets buried under the complaints, the gestures, the emotional outbursts that dominate the headlines. He's been the most consistent creator in the Premier League for 4 straight seasons, not 1, not 2, 4 consecutive years leading the league in chances created, while teams around him collapsed, while managers came and went, while Manchester United sank to their lowest point in history. Bruno Fernandes kept creating, kept fighting, kept carrying. Rio Ferdinand said it best. When you look at what Bruno's created since he signed for Manchester United, no player in the Premier League has created more chances. Not Florian Wirtz, Eze, nobody. So if you put a human touch on that, you'd be frustrated too. You'd be pissed off that the club's signing players who can't deliver. That's not a character flaw, that's passion. Manchester United are 7th in the Premier League right now, not title contenders, not where they should be, but players like Bruno Fernandes have kept them competitive. The truth is this, Bruno has evolved. He's adapted to a deeper role, sacrificing some of his goal output to help the team stay structured. At 29, he's becoming a different kind of player, and even in a squad full of talent, he remains one of league's top creators. When Manchester United eventually climb back to where they belong, when the good days return to Old Trafford, it won't be down to one player alone, but Bruno will be remembered as one of those who made the difference week after week, season after season, providing moments and chances that helped the team, even when others struggled. This is Bruno Fernandes in 2025, not perfect, not always likable, but absolutely, undeniably, irreplaceable. The captain who refuses to stop fighting, the creator who refuses to stop creating, the leader who, even when pushed out of position, still leads the Premier League in assists. That's the scary truth about Bruno Fernandes nobody's noticing, and maybe, just maybe, it's time we finally paid attention.